All right, everyone, how are you? I'm gonna wait for Facebook to get going here. I wanna talk to you guys about training, running, and what to do between now and the start of the new year. We're in this kind of unique phase where a lot of races are getting canceled due to COVID, and there's a lot of limbo of what's gonna happen next year. So I wanna just talk to you about how do you go about your training for the next 2-3 months so you set yourself up for success and decrease your risk for injury. There's a couple principles I'm gonna talk about, but typically the holidays is all about trying to get by, fitting all these family things in, and running can sometimes go to a lull. Real quick, before I get started, I'm gonna talk about a couple different programs. I'm gonna talk about our maintenance training plans, some strength workouts that we do in a core program that we have. If you're interested in learning more about those, there's a link in this post, or you can go to tryrunsmart.com and check those out. So typically what I see for my runners as a physical therapist is that once they get to this time, right around Thanksgiving in through December, runners are all about once January hits, once this date hits, that's when our training starts. So typically the diet goes to hell and the training is you go out for 5, it ends up being 3, and it really can derail any kind of progress you've made. It can also derail any kind of momentum you're carrying into your training. So I want to talk about how do you keep focused over these next couple months so that you can keep yourself going. Here's what most runners don't realize is that the biggest key to success in running, whether it's just not getting hurt or performing your best on race day or in training, is to be consistent. And if you're running all year and then you get to the holidays and it pretty much gets shut down and then January comes and you overcompensate and start running again, this period of inconsistency in the holidays ends up ruining a lot of different runners and their ability to stay injury-free and to set themselves up for success on race day. So here's my tips for you today on how to be consistent, how to handle these next couple months in your training. The first thing is to maintain a certain level of training. So when we talk about just your running in general, doing nothing, adding nothing different to your training, this is what I recommend doing. So I always love the 60% number for mileage. So if you know, for example, that you're gonna be training at 50 miles a week, you can translate this to kilometers. I'm in the States where we're different than everyone else for many reasons. 50 miles a week, what you want to be able to say, okay, I'm going to train at 60% of that mileage. I'm going to try to get at least some of that mileage in at 60%, because what that does is it gives you the base and the foundation to start training once that training plan kicks off. So if you're 50 miles a week, you'd be 30 miles. 30 miles a week would be 18 miles a week. 25 miles a week would be 15 miles a week. This is your 60% number, and that's what you should be averaging or looking to average in your running while you're in this lull state, just to make sure you're keeping consistent. Now, there's going to come times when I had this experience yesterday where family and kids are now getting sent home in the States again for school, and life is turned upside down. So at the bare minimum, what I would suggest for runners is if you can at least get 3 miles 3 times a week, that's like your disaster plan. That's your plan that if you can at least do 3 miles 3 times a week, you're at least keeping your body remembering what running is. The worst thing to do is hit those 0 numbers or be running this is what I typically see, right? Oh shit, I didn't run this week. I'm gonna run long on the weekend. And you don't run all weekend and you throw a 10 banger in on the weekend. Not really consistent. You're just kind of free floating. So be consistent and make sure you're doing that, and try to manage at least 2 or 3 weeks out of the month hitting your 60% number. And again, it's 60% of what your max mileage would be in your next training plan. The other thing I would recommend to do if you're really looking to set yourself up for success, and by the way, if I forget about this, this is going to entail what I'm talking about next. There's a link in this post. You're looking for the maintenance training plan that we have in the RunSmart app. It builds all your training plans and gives you every pace and mile that you need. But basically, you need to go into what's called maintenance mode. So our maintenance mode is 8 to 10 weeks, maintenance mode. And maintenance mode for me is you're minimizing your risk. You're still running, you're still doing the things you need to do, but you're not increasing your risk for overuse injuries by training too hard or doing too much. So in maintenance mode, what we look for is a lot of easy and base pace running. Easy pace and base pace. Base pace is about 5% faster than your easy pace, if you're wondering. In our training plans, we actually calculate this pace for you based off of what your goals are, and we'll give you the exact pace. But you want to establish the foundation of easy pace and base pace, particularly runners over the age of 40, 50, 60. You shouldn't be tacking in a lot of speed work right now, especially if you don't have a race coming up, because speed work, while it can get you fitter, carries a ton of risk. And remember what I said at the top of this video, if you haven't watched the whole thing, you can go back, is consistency is key. The runners who do the best are the ones who can stay consistent and not get hurt. And when you're doing speed work that really has no end in sight or isn't for a purpose or is too often, you increase the risk for your injury. So easy pace and base pace running is the next key. That's the second one. The first one was the 60% mileage. I talked about that at the top of this video. That's what you want to be looking at. If you want a training plan that does it for you, check out the RunSmart app. There's a link in this post somewhere that tells you how to get access to that. And where you can actually punch in your information and build a plan for you. Now the final thing, and I think this is important, but it requires you to be a smarter runner, is to load your coffers with strength. And what I mean by that is all year, all summer, a lot of us have spent time just, breaking down. It's nice out, so we'd rather be outside running than doing our strength workouts. You should be building your strength. I'm going to write, I was going to abbreviate, but why not? Strength reserves. What this means is that when you have this downtime, there's no better time than right now to build your strength up. Targeting your core, glutes, and balance, those are the three things you want to go for. You can actually do them all in one move a lot of times if you do it right. But when you do this, when you start training again, instead of coming into your training plan, like let's say this is your strength level now, and your training plan starts here, if you can build your strength reserves now and say you're going to start in January, build your strength reserves out. Let's be real. Once training starts, especially maybe after the first 4 or 6 weeks go away, your strength training comes back down. Now imagine if you start your training plan here and you're not coming in with good strength. Really increased risk for injury. What we typically see is we can build these reserves up, and then as your training gets going, you're, let's face it, probably going to slack a little bit on the strength training. You're at least coming and you'll bring it down, and you'll have this buffer that you've built into your training to prevent against injury, to keep you consistent, to do the things you want to do. Now, programs that we like to do for this target the glutes, they target the core, they target your balance. Those are the big things that I like to see. Programs I recommend: Base 3 Bootcamp, Base 6 Bootcamp. Those are the programs I use with my runners all the time. They're inside the RunSmart app. Try runsmart.com or the link in this post to take a look at those. But real quick, here's what I talked about today. One, you should be, I was gonna do this. 1, 60% mileage you should be trying to maintain during these next couple months. 2 is you should be doing a lot of easy pace and base pace running, getting rid of anything that is like comfortable hard. I call that breakdown pace, where you're running, you're like, man, this is hard, but it's doable. You want to avoid that. And 3, build up your strength reserves, because those are the things that are gonna be the things that carry you through 2021 and beyond to make you a healthy, fast runner. Now, if you want help, again, take a link in the post, go to tryrunsmart.com and check out the RunSmart app. And start using this stuff today, guys. It does work. And I tell you, half the runners wouldn't see me if they would just follow some of these principles. Hope everyone has a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.